Hello there, welcome back to Sonya Maya Psychology. This is a channel where I like to talk about psychology, sex, relationships. So if you like that kind of content, make sure to hit that like and subscribe and watch until the end because it really helps my channel when you do that. Today I want to talk about period sex. Is having sex on your period healthy, or orgasms and masturbation in general? I'm going to get into 3 evidence-based reasons for why it is, surprise, healthy. And I'm going to talk about some considerations at the end. And there's one surprising thing at the end that I just learned that I did not know was true. So make sure you watch until the end to learn the surprising benefit, if you want to think of it as a benefit, of having sex during that time of the month. Before I get into this, I do want to say that it is important to keep in mind you can still get pregnant during your period. For a long time, I don't know why people were saying that it's not possible. Yes, it's less likely. Of course, it's less likely, but it could still happen. Okay. And that's a really big thing to keep in mind because sperm can actually live in the reproductive system for up to 3 to 5 days after sex. Therefore, you can still get pregnant, especially closer to the last day of your period. So use contraception, use condom. So provided that it's consensual and comfortable for each individual involved, okay? The first reason why it could be very healthy to have sex during your period is to decrease period cramps. I think if you have a cycle, then you probably know that it can be very painful, okay? Cramps happen when the uterus is contracting in order to release its lining. That's what the blood is, okay? A release of the lining. And orgasms actually help relax the muscles of the uterus. Of course, orgasms also can trigger really great feel good hormones like endorphins, oxytocin, dopamine, etc. And the endorphins and oxytocin, they really do provide a natural pain relief for those cramps. And uterine contractions during orgasm can actually help the uterus shed its lining more efficiently, which may reduce menstrual cramps for some people. And I've talked about this before, I'll talk about it again. Having more orgasms can actually decrease headaches and migraines. And if you're someone that gets a lot of headaches and migraines during your period, keep that in mind. And then masturbate or have sex and see if you feel better. Number 2, this one's gonna feel obvious, okay, based on what we were just talking about, but improved mood, okay? Improved stress regulation. I talk about this all the time, but I'll talk about it again. Masturbation and sex are amazing stress relievers. The hormones like endorphins, the oxytocin, the dopamine, the serotonin, they support emotion regulation, reducing stress, improving mood, and this can be especially helpful during menstruation when you're likely to have maybe a lower mood. When you first get your period, the phase called the follicular phase, the power phase, does start. So your estrogen is raising, whereas like right before your period, typically that's when people have the worst mood because your estrogen is the lowest. So that's the luteal phase. So thankfully, I like to think of it like, yay, my period's here because now the power phase, the follicular phase is starting. But especially at the beginning of your period, you might notice a difference in mood. So maybe you're not going to be in the mood to have sex because maybe it's heavier depending on your flow when you first get your period, but it's really your choice. And if you notice a difference when you masturbate more to your mood, then keep that in mind. Number 3, this one's fun. Being on your period actually can increase your arousal and your lubrication. Maybe not the kind of lubrication that you're typically thinking of, but still, there's so much more blood flow to that area, to the vulva, to the vagina, to the clitoris when you are on your period. So, yeah, I mean, I can relate to this. Sometimes you do get in the mood a little bit more when you're on your period, okay? And that can actually heighten arousal and sensitivity. Like your nerve endings are like, woo, if you're into it, you know? So I think that's fun. And, menstrual fluid can act as natural lubrication, which might make sex more pleasurable and comfortable, but still use lube, still use condoms, and of course, condom safe lube, right? Because, it's not going to be an end all be all, but it can help. Here's something to keep in mind, okay? Make sure to take out your tampon, okay? Sometimes people have to go to the ER, doctor, whatever, if they get a tampon stuck. So don't forget, or the cup, the menstrual cup. Make sure that there's nothing in there. Be mindful, of course, of STIs, STDs. Of course, like, HIV, syphilis, and hepatitis B can be transferred through that fluid. So, not fun to think about, but it's true. Use condoms. And also, you might be more susceptible to pH issues during your period. And the pH has more alkaline during your period. So, you actually can be more likely to get yeast infections, bacterial vaginosis, and actually UTIs as well, urinary tract infections. Urinary tract infections. So just keep that in mind, okay? It's still worth the risk because you can get those things anyway. Like you can get infections anyway, but pee after sex, especially on your period, okay? Because that helps you decrease the chance. I mean, maybe use some wipes too, but use the bathroom, okay? And with all that in mind, right? As long as everyone's comfortable with it, communication, safety, lay a blanket down, lay a towel down, okay? That's something to keep in mind, especially if you have a heavy flow. One thing I want to talk about, the thing that I didn't know about that I find fascinating, okay? I find this fascinating, is that sex and orgasms can actually make your period shorter. Yes, I didn't know this for some reason, okay? I thought it might be true, but I wasn't sure. So, the uterine contractions, the cramps, or the convulsions, whatever you want to call them, they can help expel the uterine lining faster, okay? And the increased blood flow can lead to heavier bleeding, which therefore makes your period end quicker. So, it's not a guaranteed method, okay? But it may increase the blood flow temporarily. It might feel shorter for some people. So, just keep that in mind if you want a shorter period, maybe have more orgasms, maybe masturbate more often, and your period might be shorter. So, like I've said before, it's really your choice. I've met a lot of different people that have different perspectives on this. A lot of men that I meet are actually a lot more comfortable having sex with a partner on their period more than I anticipated that they might be. But it's really a personal preference, okay? Maybe shower beforehand if you're feeling insecure about, blood, whatever. In terms of like going down on a woman, really a personal preference. Like if going down on a vulva owner, if you want to do that, I've heard different terms for it. I've heard heard it called like getting your red wings or running a red light. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, okay? It's definitely a pleasurable time to please somebody, but it's a personal preference because even though you might be focusing on the clitoris, keep in mind that there still might be some slippage of fluid, and there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. Um, you're getting fluid in your mouth anyway, as far as I'm concerned, but I can see why it might be a turnoff for some people. There's also people who have a fetish for it. I think it's called melissophilia. I think it's called melissophilia. But if I'm wrong, I will say something on the screen.
Editing Sonya here. I was wrong. It's called menophilia when somebody has a fetish for menstrual blood. Melissophilia, I was thinking about this while I was recording it because I wasn't sure. But yeah, melissophilia is actually a fetish for bees and wasps, like stinging, which I don't fully understand, I'll be honest. But that was why I said melissophilia because they sound so similar. Melissophilia, menophilia. So melissophilia is a fetish for stinging, getting stung bees. So, whoa. And menophilia is the one that I was referring to when you have a fetish for period blood. So, yeah, different strokes for different folks. I'm not yucking anyone's yum, but I just wanted to specify. Okay, back to the video.
Where people have a fetish for having sex with somebody or eating someone out or whatever during their period. So to each his own, as long as everyone's consenting and everyone's comfortable, that's what matters to me. I hope you learned something new from this video. My name is Dr. Sonya Maya. I'm a psychologist, sex therapist, and clitician. So if you like this type of content, hit that like, hit that subscribe, turn on bell notifications. Thank you so much for watching until the end of the video. It really, really, really helps me more than you know. So I hope everyone makes pleasurable decisions and decisions because you deserve it. Remember that.